I want to talk to you, too, about these allegations that there are FISA orders that may have been aimed at Trump Tower in some way. There's been a lot of reporting out there. But the former director of national intelligence, Jim Clapper, this weekend said, I would have known about it. He says he outright denies it. There are reports, we haven't confirmed them, that the FBI director, Jim Comey, wants the Justice Department and others to go out and say, to shoot this stuff down and say it didn't happen. But if it happened, it could have been perfectly legal, if it happened.
Okay, so there's a lot of mixing of apples and oranges here. The FBI gets search warrants looking for evidence of crimes. It does not get search warrants looking for national security. The NSA gets FISA warrants looking for national security matters, not looking for evidence of crime.
And they're so much easier to get than the criminal warrants.
Of course, of course. Now, because of the unique interpretation of a Ronald Reagan executive order, 13222, known as 13222, and because of the language in the USA Freedom Act, the successor to much of the FISA law, NSA now has the ability to capture in real time the digital copies of everybody's phone calls, everybody, cell and landline, everybody's keystrokes, mobile device and
desktop.
Look
out.
Yes. All digital information going over fiber optics into the U.S., out of the U.S., or within the U.S. NSA works for the president. If the president asks for a transcribed copy of any of that, they'll give it to him. As well, the FISA statute says in it, notwithstanding all the rules above and below, the president of the United States can order surveillance on any person in the United States in conjunction with a certificate or a certification filed by the Attorney General.
Legally, but maybe not constitutionally.
In my view, it's profoundly unconstitutional, but it is legal because the statute says it.
Right, okay.
So think about this. If you're Barack Obama and you have the ability by making a phone call to hear what Donald Trump is saying, are you going to bother? Were you going to bother and try and get a warrant? Why would you get the warrant?
Yeah, his spokesperson has said he never ordered it. No one from the White House ordered it. But let me ask you a question. With all these legal frameworks in mind, could the current president now go and say, I want to see the FISA orders if they exist?
I don't know that FISA would give him the orders, but he could get them from NSA, not from FISA.
Okay.
FISA is the judiciary. It's a different branch of the government. But the NSA works for him. They're in the military. Anything he orders, they'll do.
All right, Judge, you've given us a lot to think about, as you always do. Good to see you.
Our first guest tonight says the president can order the NSA to install any wiretap of anyone at any time, and he does not require a warrant. Joining us tonight, Fox News senior judicial analyst Judge Andrew Napolitano. That statement, Judge, has just cleared away, it seems like, an endless amount of underbrush surrounding this story.
I'm sorry for the misunderstanding that there is around this story, but the statute is very clear. This is the statute that creates the FISA court, the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court. And that statute says, notwithstanding anything in this statute, the president may order the surveillance of any person in the United States of America upon the filing of a certification by the Attorney General that it relates to national security. A filing that nobody can read, not even the judges with whom it is filed. So I don't know if this happened, but the notion that President Obama would have had to ask the FBI to get a search warrant, out of the question. The FBI has nothing to do with this. They're interested in law enforcement. The idea that he would go to a FISA court to do this, out of the question. Why would he go to the FISA court to get a warrant to do something that he himself has the right to do? The attitude that they actually had to tap Trump, out of the question. Because every phone call on every mobile device and landline, every keypad touch that every mobile device and desktop, every piece of digital information that flows into, out of, or through the United States on fiber optics, captured in real time digitally by the NSA. The NSA is in the Pentagon. It works for the president. It is a military entity. He says, I want a transcript of what Donald Trump said to Lou Dobbs on, fill in the date, I'm making this up hypothetically. The transcript shows up on his desk.
But I watched 3 days of reporting on this. Judges did, millions of people watching and listening to you right now, and they didn't hear any major news organization point that out. They also did not hear any representative of President Obama categorically say that there is no way that we would have permitted the President of the United States to wiretap, to surveil, to read the emails of a candidate for president.
The way the intelligence community has been selectively concealing and revealing in a way to manipulate Donald Trump and to infuriate him and to embarrass him. It wouldn't surprise me if there are people in the intelligence community that might do the same to the former president if he throws them under the bus. The statement that you just read from his spokesperson, Kevin Lewis, said the president didn't interfere in any Justice Department investigation. This wouldn't have been a Justice Department investigation. This would have been the president's idle, politically motivated curiosity as to what Donald Trump was saying to Steve Bannon, fill in the blank, whoever he was talking to, back in October.
And it's hardly a coincidence, in my mind at least, that there was a FISA request by the administration in June, followed in October by the granting of one that was the initial was unsuccessful, but in October, which just happens to be the same as the second debate, October 10th, in which he said that he would be putting, he being the prospective president, Donald Trump said he'd put Hillary Clinton in jail. It looks like there could have been a reaction within the administration, that there could have been a reaction that was that led to the tapping of his phones, the reading of his computers, whether it contained email or what other data.
You used a phrase in your introduction which has entered our parlance in the past month or so, but really has been around for many, many years, since 1947, the deep state.
Right.
The part of the government that never changes, no matter which party controls Congress and which party is in the White House. There are many, many aspects of the deep state. We're talking about the intelligence community deep state. People in the intelligence community that have access to so much information about everyone, they can manipulate the President of the United States. And if they don't like what he says, they can embarrass him. And if they want to control his thought patterns and decision-making, they'll keep information away from him. Donald Trump has fallen victim to that, and he knows it, and he knows he has to stop it.
And this is his way of stopping it, by directly engaging on the issue, by saying exactly what, by the way, is inferentially provable throughout, whether it be the reporting of the New York Times, the National Review, hardly a
let me tell you, his suggestion for a congressional investigation of the intelligence community is the last thing his enemies in the intelligence community want. Because if the American public learns that they have access to everything we type and everything we say, they will be repulsed by the power that this deep state group has, that Congress gave them. They didn't create this on their own. Right. Congress enacted 3 pieces of legislation, which, with perverse interpretations of this legislation before a secret court, lets them gather everything we say in real time.
Is there any doubt in anyone's mind? Have we got a list of the number of instances in which the Obama administration has gone beyond the pale in surveilling, in tapping phones, in reading computer data and messaging? We do not have that.
They tapped the phones of our colleague, Jimmy Rosen, and eventually admitted that they were wrong when Rosen exposed them.
And journalists of the Associated Press. And people forget this. Dianne Feinstein, then the chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee, in 2014, they are still looking at the reality. The CIA went in and surveilled the computers of the Senate and Intelligence Committee.
You had spies spying on each other.
Well, yes, but what you had was the executive branch and the CIA spying on the Senate of the United States, which is beyond any kind of acceptable. So if anybody thinks that if you'll surveil journalists, if you will spy on U.S. senators, why would they hesitate to spy the Obama administration on a presidential candidate?
Great argument. Throw in generals in the Pentagon and justices in the Supreme Court. One of the FISA court warrants that I saw was, quote, for every customer of Verizon in the United States. That's 113 million people, including most of the federal government.
The metadata that the NSA was collecting under precisely that direction. It's unbelievable. But less so, I think, these days, because we are just seeing example after example. Going back to the judge's reference to the deep state, what we're looking at is a deep state that goes well beyond the intelligence community, but also now, for the first time, has in prospect the active leadership of the immediate predecessor to the Oval Office, and that is Barack Obama, who's bringing his leadership, that of many of his administration, and the Organization for Action with an estimated more than 30,000 activists.
But the deep state has a very wide and shrewd adversary, the man in the Oval Office.
You better believe it.
The first time in the modern era that the man in the Oval Office has been an adversary of the deep state and rather than a tool of it.
Absolutely. Well said, as always, Judge Andrew Napolitano.
Pleasure.
Good to have you with us.
Pleasure, Lou. No matter what we talk about, it's a pleasure.
There you go. Thanks so much. And we're coming right back. I mean, there is so much more for you to process tonight. Of course, we've had no problem doing that throughout the day.